Do I believe that places like Orania should exist? No. Do I believe that Orania is racist? Of course.
Orania is a whites-only town. Black people cannot live or work here.
They have bouncers at church here in Orania.
This is Orania, a unique and fascinating town in the heart of South Africa's Northern Cape province. Some call it a racist town where apartheid is still being practiced, while some see it as a town preserving the Afrikaner culture and its history. Here, no black people or any other ethnic groups are allowed to live or work. Only white Afrikaners can occupy this place. But isn't that racist? Keep watching, and let's explore this town's history, origins and values together. And by the end of this video, you'll have your answer. But before we get into it, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you stay updated about our latest videos. Orania is an Afrikaner nationalist town in South Africa. Founded by Afrikaners, it is located along the Orange River in the Karoo region of the Northern Cape province. Afrikaners are white people who descended from 17th century Dutch, German, and French settlers to South Africa. The Afrikaners slowly developed their own language, which is Afrikaans, and their own culture when they came into contact with Africans. But where and how did this all begin? Well, picture this. It's the early 1990s and South Africa is transforming. So, in December 1990, about 40 Afrikaner families led by Wynand Boshoff, the founder of the town, more on him later, bought the ruined town of Orania, which had broken down old houses for around 1.5 million rands or $585,000 from the Department of Water Affairs. In the lead up to the move-in, some 500 black and colored people still lived in this area. So, since the land had new owners, 64 families were forcefully evicted by the Department of Water Affairs in early 1991, in one of the last large-scale forced removals of apartheid. However, these families that were forced to move were provided newly built homes but were taken more than 100 kilometers or 62 miles away to a small town called Warrenton. So, in April 1991, the first 13 inhabitants moved into Orania. At that time, the town consisted of only 150 houses. The town's founder, Wynand Boshoff, is Hendrik Verwoerd's son-in-law. Yes, the same Hendrik Verwoerd who was the architect of apartheid.
Our policy is one which is called by an Afrikaans word apartheid. And I'm afraid that has been misunderstood so often. It could just as easily, and perhaps much better, be described as a policy of good neighborliness, accepting that there are differences between people. But while these differences exist, and you have to acknowledge them, at the same time, you can live together, aid one another, but that it can best be done when you act as good neighbors always do.
Is he serious?
Apartheid is a system of segregation that was enforced in South Africa by the ruling white minority that declared them as superior to blacks and any other race besides their own. Fast forward to modern-day Orania. It's home to around 3,000 residents, all of whom are Afrikaners, and is still growing. Statues of Verwoerd and other apartheid Afrikaner leaders are mounted proudly.
None of them are alive anymore. None of them are active participants in history anymore. They are in the past, but they are part of our past. The good and the bad and everything is part of our past.
For them, Verwoerd represents an identity of the Afrikaner culture and heritage, while others view these statues as symbols of divisions and apartheid. They are proudly Afrikaner and aren't afraid to be. This town is like its own little country. They have their own hospitals, schools, their own radio stations, and even a university. Talk about keeping it in the family. They are currently building their own airport, and they run this town with their own banks and currency. The name of their currency is the Ora, which is equivalent in value to the South African rand. So basically 10 Ora is equal to 10 rands. Economically, Orania has shown resilience with thriving local businesses and strong sustainability. But despite its peaceful appearance, Orania has been subject to controversy and debate. British journalist Ade Adepatine was shooting a documentary where he attempted to be the first black man to live in Orania for at least a week. He tried, and everything was going okay for the most part, until he tried to enter a church for Sunday service. They flat out refused to let him in. He almost got shot while attempting to enter the house of God. Crazy.
So we just got kicked out of church. It's not very neighborly or godly.
Was this racist or just a strong gesture of preserving the Afrikaner culture? It's incidents like these that cause the critics to argue against the town's values and ideology. Critics feel like the exclusion of blacks and other races goes against the ideals of a multicultural South Africa. Where is the Rainbow Nation? Even though those who argue against Orania raise good questions and valuable points in the argument, but you have to admit that Orania's model of self-reliance and independence is interesting. For example, they have large farms of solar panels and have recently acquired a 4,800 megawatt battery so that they don't have to depend on Eskom's power and the national grid in times of load shedding. While this independence may not be scalable, it offers insights into how small communities can sustain themselves. Imagine if this was done on a larger scale, say nationally.
What they've done there is impressive. I cannot come here and say, no, in Orania, that town is working. And what they are doing, it will be the biggest embarrassment for us. If Orania doesn't have load shedding anymore, they're working towards that. And we are still struggling with load shedding. So I am saying I went there to come and learn. I have learned so much from Orania.
As South Africa continues to evolve, the future of Orania remains uncertain. Will it continue to thrive as a culture enclave, or will it have to adapt to broader societal changes? One thing is clear. Orania is more than just a town. It's a statement about identity, culture, and the quest for self-determination. So whether you see it as a symbol of cultural preservation or a community that's stuck in old apartheid ways, there's no denying that Orania has carved out a unique place in South Africa's landscape. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about this whites-only town? Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.